But how do you see the mood of the United States 10 years on as it remembers what happened? And, of course, inevitably, the consequences of 9/11, those two wars in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Well, the media in this country has changed tremendously. What hasn't changed in the last 10 years? But a lot of the change was wrought by 9/11. The media, like the rest of this country, Adam, it felt invulnerable. We thought the country was invulnerable. There was a certain insularity in the United States of America, and 9/11 was such a shock that stays with us still. And it shocked the media in general, the print press, radio, television, the internet. Immediately following 9/11, there was a rededication to international coverage. I mentioned earlier we Americans had gotten complacent, and partly because of our materialism, but we realized after 9/11 that this insularity was a vulnerability. And so immediately following 9/11, there was increased and better international coverage. But as time wore on, the expense, the fatigue, institutional fatigue of covering two wars, both of which are still with us, has mitigated that to no small degree. And so the sense of dedication, the sense of mission that the media felt in the immediate wake of 9/11 and for maybe 2 years after that has, I'm sorry to say, to some degree faded, because international coverage in this country at this moment is extremely poor, and there isn't much of it. There's been the closing of foreign bureaus, far less international coverage at the very moment when we need more of it.
Very big question, of course, but 10 years on, what do you think 9/11, that event, that attack, that murderous attack, has changed? What's its impact been?
Well, it still has considerable impact to this day. As I say, 9/11 left us a large shadow, and the echoes resonate fairly strongly within, I think, overwhelmingly most Americans, if not every American, that, we've changed as a people. We've changed as a society, I think for the better, but we're still paying a price. We're still trying to deal with it. Most people, I think, outside of an anniversary time, try to put 9/11 as far back in their memory, as far back in their consciousness as they can, but given how suddenly it struck us and how deeply it struck us, nobody can put it very far back. But with these two wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, yes, the war in Iraq seems to be building down right now, but the war in Afghanistan is still very hot. And I come back to the economy. The effects of 9/11 on our economy and indeed on the economy of the world, while not the only thing that is dragging the current economy down, all of these things are going through our heads, particularly as we mark this 10th anniversary, but nothing more than the memory of those who died and were physically or mentally maimed at the time.
Was it also the moment which marked the end of the American century, the end of what some people call the unipolar moment, if you like?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think one can make the argument that 9/11 meant the end of the American century, the 20th century, that was the moment when it ended. The question now is, are we on the brink? Can we dream of a new American century? And we're struggling with that now. We're hoping to achieve that. Not at all sure that we can. The world has changed dramatically. But I do agree that you can, as I say, make a very strong argument that 9/11 ended the American century. Whether we're to have a new American century marked by American global leadership is an open question.